Welcome to today's virtual business luncheon with our members and friends from Travelex Business. My name is Mario Krach. I'm Vice President of the German American Chamber of Commerce of the Midwest, and we'll begin shortly, just a few moments to have every one of our participants be able to join us online. We should have around some 50 participants today. Yeah, and I see the attendee list is filling. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've got quite a few participants from Germany as well in today's business luncheon. So good evening to Germany. I think it's 7 p.m. over there. And thanks so much for joining us. That's what technology is all about. Even though we talk about travel restrictions today, so benefits of that. Well, I think let's get started with today's business luncheon. We want to focus a lot of our time on your questions, and we received some of those questions earlier. So I'm really looking forward to that. Joining us today is Ursula Pearson, Jerry Aguiar, and Bill Hickey from Travelex International. Travelex International is also serving our business needs. I got a feedback here right now. I'm sorry. Okay, there we go. Travelex is serving our business, our travel needs at GACC Midwest for a year, I think a year and a half right now, almost 2 years. And we're pretty happy with you guys, even though travel right now is pretty limited due to the current pandemic. Before we start and dive into the topic, just to show you the magnitude of the effects that the current pandemic has, earlier today, and we were not even able, because we got it at 5 a.m., we received the first results from our AHK World Business Outlook. That was a survey that our network conducted across the world throughout our 140 offices in 92 countries. And we were looking into the effects that the current COVID-19 pandemic has on German companies in those countries. So bear with me, we didn't even have time to translate it into English, but we're gonna have that published pretty soon. But here's two amazing things I found is when we were asking those companies, and round about 3,300 companies answered worldwide, German companies over there, what's the effects of the current pandemic on your business? Number one, and you see it here, it's travel restrictions. So that just shows the sheer magnitude of that problem that we have right now. And the other question that might be interesting for all of us is, we were asking those companies, the German companies abroad, like, what kind of challenges do you see in terms of, getting the economy in the country where you are situated back on track? And number three over here, you see it again, travel restrictions. So we're pretty much up to date with all of that right now. It's a topic that is of concern to a lot of the German companies. Before we get started, let me introduce you to our amazing membership and engagement and events team. They're tirelessly working in the background, handling the technology and all of that. Franziska's joining us in the background, Matthew too, and we've got Kim and Heidi there as well. Before we go into our business luncheon today, just a little bit of housekeeping here. All of the participants will be muted during the presentation. And again, presentation is very short. We want to focus on your questions. If you have a question, you can do it either way. You can type your question into the question box, and we're going to put you through one after the other and unmute you. You can also raise your hand. For our friends over there in Germany, dialing in from Germany, if you don't feel comfortable with asking your question or typing your question into the box in English, please feel free to do in German. Ursula joining us today, she speaks German, and I can jump in and translating this as well. So please don't hesitate to ask your questions either in English or in German. Before we get started, we want to know a little bit about you and your travel needs and your travel planning this year and in the next few months. And that's why we've got a short and a very quick poll here with 3 questions. And Franziska, if you could start with the first poll. And there we go. So question number one actually is, do you plan on traveling within the coming months? And for us and also for our friends at Travelex, that would be very interesting to know. 57% I see right now are planning to travel for business purposes, and 32% are planning to travel for private purposes. 10% are not planning to travel. That's pretty amazing, pretty good results. So travel for business purposes is really a big issue. Next poll question is, would you feel comfortable traveling now by airplane? And let's have a look at the answers that come in. Yes, wearing a mask, or no, not really. So I see those answers coming in right now. I think, Franziska, we could share those results. So 66% yes, wearing a mask, and 34% cannot imagine traveling now by airplane in the current situation. And last but not least, final question that we have for our audience is, are you in this webinar to learn more about travel restrictions regarding your private travel or business travel? And there we go. Of course, we're a business association and our participants are pretty much engaged in their businesses. So 76% business travel, and 24% would like to get some more information in case of upcoming private travel. Well, thank you so much. Before we move ahead, none of our business luncheons would be able without the gracious support of the company PKF Mueller, who sponsors the entire series, and thus providing us and our members with this platform to share best practice, experience, and their know-how. So I'm going to thank Dave Nissen here. I think, Dave, you're here for your ongoing support and sponsoring. So Dave, if you're online, I don't see Dave online here.
He is online.
We're trying to unmute Dave here. Cool, okay. Dave, I'm sorry, we got a technical glitch here. I cannot unmute you, but anyway, thank you so much to you guys from PKF.
Can you hear me now?
Now, there we go. Thank you so much, Dave. Hey, how's it going?
Oh, great. You know, these are great virtual luncheons you're doing, Mario, and this one's great. And we are really proud to support the German American Chamber of Commerce with these. We really do. And you know, PKF Mueller does a lot of business travel. So Amy Shamoon and I are on the call today representing PKF Mueller, and we're having our next scheduled trip, so to speak, is the end of September. And I'm interested in hearing what our experts here from Travelex. We've got Ursula, we've got Jerry, and we've got Bill. And it's interesting, when I'm looking at Ursula in her background, it almost looks like a soccer field. That's what I'm thinking. Are you in a soccer field right now? But anyhow, I don't think you are, but it looks pretty cool. I like it. And one more thing, Mario, before I turn it over to this esteemed panel and this great company, is anybody who sends in German questions that are typed in German, I only know 8% German, so I cannot help you, Mario. I will not be able to help you.
I'm going to help you out, Dave.
Well, I'll turn it over to you and the panel. We're looking forward to the presentation.
Thank you, Dave. And without further ado, Jerry, Bill, and Ursula, here you go.
I'm Ursula Pearson, founder and president of Travelex International. I was born in Pforzheim, Germany, and I grew up in Ansbach. And Ansbach is in Mittelfranken. I've lived in the Chicago area for 35 years, so my German is not really perfect anymore. I opened Travelex in 1992, booking corporate, group, and leisure travel services. And here are Jerry and Bill, who will tell you more about the services of Travelex International.
Thank you, Ursula. Welcome, everybody. On behalf of Travelex, we're very delighted and happy to be able to participate and help in any way that we can and educate on what's happening in the marketplace today because of the COVID-19 disaster and pandemic. Just a little bit about Travelex. Ursula and her team has grown the company to be one of the largest travel management firms in the United States today. We are a global company. Our sales are about $21 billion. We're an independent branch of Zell Travel Leaders that are based out of New York. So we have the buying power of a mega travel management firm, but we operate more as a boutique to provide a high level of service, which in this environment, our customers are looking for more interaction with the agent team than just booking with an online solution. So that's just a little bit about our company. We, can handle anybody's travel anywhere in the world. If we have the next slide, Mario. Again, just a little recap of our company. One more slide. And again, going to the topic, of travel and safety in today's environment, this is what we do on a daily basis, and it changes almost hourly. Our team has got this interactive map. We just took a screenshot to show you what it looks like. But our agents can mouse over any country, any location, and the right side will give a basic, most updated and current restrictions and what they may anticipate within that country for travelers entering anywhere from around the world. And there's a toggle where you can get really detailed to learn more. And this information is gathered from all government and airline offices around the world. So we're constantly updating this map and the activity on a daily basis. And I think the best thing that we can learn from today is that things are in a constant state of change. My role, I'm Vice President of Business Development, so constantly working with clients in order to make sure their travelers are safe. Bill will give you a little bit more of a recap of some of the things that we're experiencing today. But the most important thing that we can say is that you really need to align yourselves with professionals that can help you make sure that you're comfortable. And then if you're managing the ticketing aspect, is we monitor that up to 24 hours before departure to let that client know if something's happened in that marketplace that will impact the decision. So again, I know there's been some questions about going to Kansas City or going into Canada. We can help resolve those issues. But I don't want to take Bill's thunder because Bill owns operations. Mario, if we can switch to the next slide. And if we're going too fast, please stop and let us interject, but we're very sensitive to your time. So with that, let me turn it over to Bill.
Thank you, Jerry and Ursula and everybody at the German American Chamber for this opportunity to talk to you. As everyone is aware, travel restrictions and COVID are uppermost in many people's minds now. As Jerry said, we are constantly monitoring what is going on, not only in the United States, but around the world. We have a number of tools available to us to keep us up to date. And we're constantly keeping our clients that are traveling, and there are those that are traveling now, we're constantly keeping them in the loop as to what the latest restrictions are and how to deal with them. As I'm sure most companies can imagine, at the beginning of this crisis, we had a number of trips canceled. And we have a very large amount of unused tickets by our corporate clients that we are sitting on, and we're going to be helping them in how to use them best going forward. For those that may not know, depending on the airline, depending on the time frame, there are all kinds of depends here. You might be able to do name changes or use the tickets through the end of 2021. It can sometimes get airline specific, destination specific. So we would need to be talking to you as to how best to use those. But unused tickets in this time period are very important. That's cash that you, the company, have outlaid to the airlines. Face masks on airlines is a big thing right now. Domestically, for the most part, all airlines are requiring face masks. Very recently, in the last couple days, middle seats being open has begun to change. 14-day quarantines upon arrivals in places. We're in Chicago, so theoretically in Chicago, if you've been in a hot spot, you need to quarantine for 14 days. But if you're going to see a customer in the suburbs, you don't. These are all the kinds of questions that we can answer for our clients, and we constantly do. That's what our agents are prepared to do. It's what Jerry and myself are available for. In addition, we're here to answer questions of how to get people from the U.S. abroad to Europe, Asia, and go through all the various restrictions that are in place in all of the different countries. We have a number of companies that produce and then maintain sophisticated machinery across the world. And we have had to get people into countries to fix these, technical, very technical and high-powered machines. We've got to get them in there. And it's been interesting at times, but we've been able to do it. And those are the kinds of things that's why we're here. We're going to help as best we can to get your people where they need to be. And Mario, you can probably go to the next screen.
Yeah, and again, I think the biggest takeaway from this is that no matter what your challenge is, lean on the experts for advice and, see how we can help you guys at least make sure you're comfortable taking the next step. So, we want to review the updates per country. You want to have a plan in place and a contingency plan. Like Bill mentioned, we have a lot of clients, not only in machinery, we have clients that work with hospitals that are going to hospitals around the world that, need to work on their technology and make sure that everything is working when it's down. It really creates a problem. So we're working primarily, most of our customers today are traveling at the last minute. There's an emergency in this country, in this state, this region, we need to be there tomorrow. So we're acting as quick as possible. Obviously, the more advanced notice, it's easier for us to work, but also creates the same uncertainty that we don't know what's going to happen in 5 or 7 days. But it's our responsibility to monitor that, to make sure we're aware of anything that could impact that trip. So we are working with new technology partners. One company called GeoSearch that just came on the market that actually is looking at COVID activity and can drill down to 46,000 neighborhoods in the United States. So if you're going into New York and you want to have dinner in Manhattan, you can pull this up and take a look and see, maybe it's not a good idea to dine in this area, but you want to go, to Brooklyn where it's safer. So there's a lot of resources at our fingertips. And Bill, I think you want to go ahead and add some more. I don't want to steal all of Bill's thunder here. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's basically before travelers are traveling, we're pulling the record the day before, rechecking all of the restrictions that might be in place. And if there has been a change, we're talking to the traveler and the company to determine the best course of action. And that's really what our clients are looking for from us right now. We're helping them navigate this situation in the best possible way, as well as how best to use unused tickets and who needs to go and when they need to go and things. I do want to offer that should anybody have any questions, the next slide is going to be contact information for Jerry and I. If you have any questions, concerns specific to your situations, feel free to reach out to us, either via email or phone, and we'd be more than happy to, to help you with a specific issue or situation that you might have.
I'd also like to say that travel is really on an uptick every week. Obviously, we're probably only 10% of what our normal activity is, but every week it's going up a little bit more. It's mainly essential travel that's going on today, but we have not had a problem of not being able to accommodate one of our clients' requests, no matter how difficult or how obscure it sounded like it would be. But we're able to work through that, and we're here to help you any way that we can. It's an uncertain situation, but we are handling it. And I think more information as time goes on, it's actually making it easier on the travelers. We're actually working with the airlines and going on site inspections with United, Delta, and American this week to see what they're planning on doing in the next 30, 60, 90 days. And we're also in constant contact with our international partners on what's happening there. So with that, thank you.
Ursula, Bill, Jerry, thank you so much. And we've got the first questions in already. So I would like to put those questions through. All of those questions are different, but that's just the nature of the beast, you know, because what we're dealing with actually is three things right now: travel restrictions from Europe to the United States, travel restrictions from the United States to Europe or other places, and then also those travel restrictions within the United States that change, you know, every 24 hours. I just heard yesterday that New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, you know, put several additional states, you know, on their travel restrictions list. So let's go through those questions that I have here. And I have one raised hand right now from Christian Götz. And Christian, I'm gonna unmute you and feel free to ask your question. Oops, I'm sorry, now we go. Christian, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you guys. Hi, everyone. Thanks again for putting this together. Just listening to what you're saying there, Bill. First off, I guess to clarify, I work for Jeff Generation Efficiency for both the GmbH and the limited partnership subsidiary in Michigan. I'm currently trapped in Germany. I say trapped, not really trapped, but I'm an American, and so if I were to leave Germany for a longer period of time, I would lose my green card here. So I'm stuck over here in Germany, and my business sells specialized equipment to large factories, mostly energy efficiency or energy efficient infrastructure equipment. And the problem that pretty much all of my German suppliers are having right now is that all of these pieces of equipment, things like compressors or evaporators, are due for their 6-month or 8-month maintenance, and suddenly nobody can figure out how they can get a service technician sent from Germany over or from Mexico into the States. And so right now I just got, right before this one, got off a call with, for me, a new client, because I think the only option for a lot of my clients, since I am still allowed to enter the United States. But I'm curious, Bill, you mentioned that it's possible right now for you guys to get service people in. I was wondering, is that possible for German citizens to be sent over for some of these pieces of equipment where there is no competitor on the market and there is nobody local in the States that knows how to service these things? So.
Yeah, we've been successful in a handful of cases where we're able to, you know, get them considered essential and come over. It's really been on a case-by-case basis. So it's kind of getting them to agree that you are in fact essential. It sounds like it to me. But if you want to, you know, send me an email with some specifics as to where, you know, your people need to go and where they're coming from, you know, we can drill down a little bit and get back to you.
And you make a good point, Bill, here. You know, there is those exceptions in the travel restrictions that, you know, literally read like, you know, are you essential, or, you know, but there is a, you know, literally no definition out there of what is considered to be essential and who could get that. But based on the experience that you have, I think that's the smartest thing to do, to look at each and every case individually. We've got more questions in here and I would like to go through them. The next one I have here on my list is Jürgen Schneider. Jürgen, I'm gonna unmute you and please feel free to ask your question. So let me just try to figure that out if that works. Jürgen muted himself, but maybe to save some time. I have the question here, and Jürgen is basically asking that he has all the immigration things done. So that's another problem. You know, there's the travel restrictions, right, and then there's the immigration things, but we're focusing on those travel restrictions right now. So he is a visa holder and he has a German passport. can I enter the United States if I would quarantine 14 days in any non-banned country, such as Mexico, Dubai, or Serbia? That's his question.
That gets a little trickier because you're holding the German passport. So your point of entry isn't always the deciding factor. It's an interesting one. I'd have to look into that.
Awesome. Well, we're not perfect, you know, and as mentioned, every case is individual. So for some of those things, you might not have the answers yet. I got another question from Annegret. Annegret, I'm gonna unmute you right now, and let's see if this works. Can I unmute you? And there you should go, Annegret. Feel free to ask your question. I can't put her through right now, but here's my question, or I'm going to read it to you guys basically. End of May, there had been 2 repatriation flights for managers and assignees and their families from Germany to China. Those were charter flights, and they were also organized by the German American Chamber of Commerce in China, our colleagues over there, and the German diplomatic missions in China. And what Annegret right now asks, and actually that's a question we can answer, is if there's any similar plans or ideas that we would do that here in the United States as well, or we could do that. Good question, Annegret. The challenge here in the United States actually is that right now, also given the political climate between the United States and Germany, I cannot provide a lot of hope that this would be possible. Besides, there is still flights operating in and out of the United States to Germany. And Bill and Jerry and Ursula, correct me if I'm wrong, as far as I know, Lufthansa is still operating at least 3 weekly flights on a regular basis. So the need for a charter flight to organize an extra charter flight actually is not there yet. Correct. And do you see other airlines that would provide or still provide the opportunity to go from the United States to Europe, or is it just Lufthansa?
There's other airlines flying. There is flight service, and as long as there's flight service, I'm going to assume, we all know what happens on that. I'm going to assume there aren't going to be any charters. If there's scheduled commercial flights going, I doubt that there's going to be charters.
Gotcha.
Yeah, more international carriers are opening up more frequency, you know, each week, so we have more options.
Good. I've got another question from Michael Steidel. Michael, I would like to put you through. There you go. You're unmuted, yeah. Michael. Feel free to ask a question.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So we started, or actually a partner of us started a manufacturing facility in the US. It's an essential business. So we are in the railroad industry. And it's manufacturing a certain part which only one other manufacturer makes in the US, but they moved their plant. They have manufacturing issues and quality issues, so they can't keep up with the demand. And we would need to get somebody over from Germany to train the US personnel to run that line. So otherwise, if we can't get him over, the jobs would go to China. So now the question is there a way to get this expert over to the US to train the US personnel?
Where in the US is the plant?
The plant is in Kansas City.
Yeah, I think we, just like Bill mentioned, if you want to send us some details, we can certainly look and help make sure you are comfortable with it, but I don't think that'd be a problem getting somebody here.
Okay. All right.
We just need to get to the right person to make the call to let your person come over.
Okay. All right.
Thank you so much, Michael. I hope this answers the question. And
that's all what I needed.
Thank you so much. And to all of you from Travelex, I think it always depends on, the making the case of being essential. Yeah, but you have experience in that, what kind of documentation, where you can say, okay, thumbs up or thumbs down, this is a no-brainer or should be a no-brainer. I mean, we're not the ones making the decisions to be allowed
It's
to.
late, Mario, we become like a matchmaker. We're trying to match up the two parties to make it happen, is really what's happening.
Gotcha. Annegret had another question, and she says, I think it ties into what we just had here. Would an official business invitation be sufficient as an accepted expectation of the US travel ban in order to enter the US traveling from the Schengen area? So an official business invitation.
It depends, there's some very strict rules on that. If it comes from the government, or a city or a state, that is looked at differently. If it's more of a sales opportunity, that may not be considered efficient. So we need to, again, drill down to the detail, the purpose, who originated the invitation, so that we can help make sure that you get the right people for the approval to enter.
Thank you. That's a valid point. I've got another question from Milena in here, and I think that question is way more targeted towards us at GACC Midwest, because her question is, if traveling to the US or the travel ban, travel restrictions to the US will continue to stay in place and vice versa, would it be recommendable to set up business meeting in a third country? But traveling is permitted for both parties. What's your take on that, Bill and Jerry and Ursula, before I jump in here?
Yeah, I mean, you run the risk of all of a sudden the third country having a problem and then having problems getting either in or out of there. So chosen correctly, yeah, it makes a lot of sense, as long as it's a country that both sides can travel from and to.
Right.
We're
Perfect.
seeing more and more countries are opening up. We just had memorandums today, like in the Caribbean. That many, those areas are open. A lot of them are still closed. But just, again, who knows what tomorrow brings? So we have to monitor and certainly can help facilitate that. But, you run a risk.
I would suggest the shorter the time frame on planning that, the better. I wouldn't want to be saying, oh, let's do a meeting, in the Caribbean in a month. Because if all of a sudden something changes, you have a problem. But if the meeting's that important and you're both willing to travel and you want to do it next week, yeah, we can make some suggestions on some countries or places, that are easily accessible for both sides.
Right. Perfect. And also with all those travel restrictions and what we discussed earlier with, being essential, yes or no, I just wanted to mention to the entire audience here also that due to our network and our good connections also to the US Embassy in Germany, we might be able to help there as well. So just making the case of you guys then basically getting the okay to be allowed to enter the United States. That is actually something that's up to the consulates over there. So we're pretty good connected to the US Embassy in Germany and also to the consulate. So we might be able to help. There's no guarantees in this uncertain time anyway, but whenever you think we might be helpful, then just reach out to us or also Travelex and we'll coordinate that. Daniel Feldkamp-Lynch. Daniel, you're next on my list of questions, and I'm just gonna unmute you right now. And could you unmute yourself too, so you can ask your question? Oh, I'm sorry. Now there we go, Daniel. Hey.
Hi, yeah, just a quick question, slightly out of the ordinary. We are an executive search firm, and we have a client in Germany who is currently hiring a president for their US subsidiary. I have two finalist candidates that the German client wants to see in Germany. Both of them are US citizens. I don't suppose that would come under any sort of exemption rule for essential travel, would it? Getting people over there because they need to see them before they can create the jobs here in the US.
Are they going from Germany to the US or US to Germany?
No, they are American. They're American candidates, and they need to see the German client at their German headquarters.
Yeah, I think, again, that in case-by-case basis, if it's a president for a company, we can petition and ask to make sure that, they allow entry. That's something they may consider essential, depending on the company the size
Right.
and what services that company renders, that they're doing essential service, it probably is definitely essential.
Yeah,
It's Daniel, right?
one of the companies actually manufactures processing equipment that is also sold into the pharmaceutical industry. So we might be able to make a case on that one. The other one, I'm not sure about.
Yeah. Daniel, this might kind of be the perfect situation if your company in Germany doesn't mind of doing a neutral site meeting. I mean, if you can meet in somewhere that's open where both parties can fly in and meet each other, that might actually be an easier way for you to accomplish this one.
Yeah, the only problem with that one is that because this is for the president's position here in the US, the German owners want the candidates to see the manufacturing facility in Germany and do networking with people in Germany.
That makes sense. Okay.
Meeting like 5 or 6 people. So that's going to be a challenge, flying half the company to Iceland or whatever.
Yeah.
Again, I just want to help send the details so we can try to make sure you have the right contacts to people to see if we can get that,
So we can get some answers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. I got another question from Daniel here, Daniel Dudek. Daniel, that's the question referring to your Michigan connection. Feel free to ask a question.
Thank you very much. Hello together. Yeah, for me it's a problem. Yeah, I signed a contract at the Detroit plant because they started a remake for the new Bronco, and yeah, now we have the problem. I'm since 2 months at the home office, and the facility starts to ramp up, and I'm there as an expert, and yeah, we have no chance to bring me over from Germany to the US, and now they want to try the way to bring me over Abu Dhabi, then with letters from the company and also from the customer, from Ford, that I am a business critical person and my help is needed there. But how are my chances? Let me say like this: is it correct that I can fly over to the US, or should I stay at home and wait until travel ban is ended?
Mario, can you help? I had a hard time
Yeah,
hearing
I
that.
can hear.
Oh, sorry.
The challenge that Daniel has right now, and maybe I'm going to jump in here, is actually he's currently, or he has, a valid visa to be able to enter and work in the United States. The problem is that he needs to be here in the Detroit region to actually work for a client. And his question was that, Daniel, I assume that this is correct. Ford is the client. Then that your company is working for, that if they would exactly, yeah, if they would send some sort of confirmation or recommendation that his help is essential, his work here is essential. What his company in the question is also is his company is trying to fly him in over through Abu Dhabi, to get him routed through Abu Dhabi to avoid the travel restrictions from Europe.
I don't like to try to do that, because if there's a problem, all you need is one person at an airline or a security person denying that. I would prefer to just get it accomplished and he can fly straight to the US.
So that would mean what
I
you
would prefer to do it that way.
Yep.
Sorry, because when Mario pushed the button, I cannot hear the first questions, because then I cannot hear. Can you repeat it, please?
Yeah, it's I would prefer that we just get you immediate access straight into the US and not try to fly you through another country, because at the end of the day, you've got, I think you have a German passport.
Exactly, yes, and E2 visa, and I also have an apartment right now in the US, because I was there, but then the coronavirus stuff starts, and after 8 weeks of home office, I fly back, and yeah, now I'm stuck in Germany and cannot fly back. Let me say it like this.
And I think you said it was working on the Bronco line, so if it's Ford, Motor Company, on their letterhead gives you a letter saying it's essential that your services are needed, required, or could stop this line if you don't have something, whatever that effect, that may help our cause to make it easy for you.
Okay, can I get directly to you, Jerry, or Will, and send you the letters from the company, from Ford and from Webasto also, or how we should handle this?
I would say it's a bill. You can copy me in as well, but we'll work together on it for you.
We'll run it down for you.
And Daniel and Jerry, Ursula, and Bill also, if you want, please just if you want to send it to us, because here is the thing that I'm just thinking about right now is there's also the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. So the EDO from Michigan, we are very good connected with them. They're our members too. So if they can be helpful in supporting that, so the State Economic Development Agency, we might make the case that your problems are going to be, solved in that. Daniel, if you want to connect with us as well right after the business luncheon, yep.
Mario, you're on our list now. Don't worry.
Okay. Oops. I'm sorry. So now I got another question from Stefan Hefner. Stefan, I'm going to unmute you right now. And yeah, you should be able to ask your question right now. Stefan, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mario. So question to the group I got from our co-CEOs. So is there a chance for a German citizen to transit via the US to another country, for example, Canada, if they have a valid ESTA? So can they travel to the US and then just not enter the US, but be in transit?
Just connect in the US.
Yeah, I actually, Stefan, I think your bigger problem is Canada. I mean, I'm not sure they're going to let you in.
Again, if it's a essential trip, if depending on the purpose of entering Canada, it doesn't, your point of origin doesn't matter. You don't have to go through the United States. If that's your only option, then you could. But if the end solution is, why are you going to Canada? Is it an essential, trip? Yes. I mean, there's a lot of contingencies or variations to allow people to travel, especially it's been lifted more because now professional baseball, professional hockey are all going to be operating in Canada. So there's going to be more transporter activity that isn't going to be actually essential. So it's opening up more and more each day.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, they've been pretty tough up until now. But it seems to be loosening up. You don't by any chance play hockey that we could play that card that you're going in for the NHL.
You're right.
Stefan, thank you so much for your question. Next question is from Wolf Heinrich Wehrling. Wolf Heinrich, I'm gonna unmute you and feel free to ask your question. There you go. Wolf Heinrich, you should be able to ask a question now.
Hey Jerry, hey Bill, how are you doing? Yeah, so I was going to see if there are any discussions currently going on that would seem to that the COVID restrictions currently are going to be lifted. So from the US side, that the travel ban might be lifted within the next couple of weeks or a month, now that cases are going down in Europe, or if there's any discussion, anything that you have heard on are aware of.
There are discussions going on right now, and as far as when is that going to be impacted, I know there's a lot in the States here. There's a lot of government that's basically closed till July 28th when they return to session. But I know there's a lot of things on the session, and looking at opening up more travel is definitely on the agenda, as a lot of other issues. I mean, it's a major topic. So I would definitely, to answer your question, think that by the end of the month, we should have an update with some changes, hopefully making travel a little bit easier.
Well, fingers crossed. I think one of those challenges with those, travel restrictions also is the political sphere, that usually those are being implemented on on the case like, what you do to my people, I'm going to do to your people.
Right.
So,
if you let us in, we'll let you in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but fingers crossed that there is some changes in there pretty soon. Wolf Heinrich, does it answer your question right now?
Yes, thanks so much.
Awesome, thank you. Another one I have here from Lothar Burger. Lothar, we're gonna put you through right now. There you go, Lothar.
Yeah, hello. Thanks for answering all the question. I have a question. I'm a German citizen, wanted to travel to Germany, having a green card in the US. Can I do this? Number one. And if so, do I have to be in quarantine in Germany before I can see customers?
I don't believe that there's a problem in you flying to Germany because you're holding a German passport.
Right.
I'd have to check on the quarantine question just to be sure before I open my mouth on that. I'd want to clarify that one.
Okay,
Things are changing daily. It depends on where do you live, where are you originating from?
Well, I would fly actually out of Charlotte, North Carolina, if possible. And then it doesn't matter where into Germany. I can do Munich, Frankfurt, or I could even go through Switzerland, Zurich, and then enter by car into Germany. But the point, if I have to quarantine first for 14 days, as it was done previously, then a business trip makes no sense.
Right.
I lose too much time. And then the question is, I think I should have no issue coming back being a green card holder. And I don't think I have to quarantine right now when I enter back into the States, but I want to know the part in Germany.
Right, I think that there's two parts to that question. Is A, the quarantine, and B, the purpose of your trip. Who are you going to see, where you're going, and the purpose. And then if that becomes essential, that again may.
I don't think the purpose is a problem. For him going back to Germany, I think he's okay because he's holding a German passport. And I'll be honest with you, we haven't had a lot of German nationals going back to Germany right now that I'm up to date on the quarantine. But again, if you want to just blast me a quick email, I can check on that for you and let you know what's in place if you're going from here to there.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I checked also on the embassy's website, but there's also no clear direction on it either.
Yeah.
So maybe Good.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Not a problem.
Thank you so much, Lothar, for your question. I got another one from Jürgen. Jürgen, we're going to put you through right now. There we go. You should just unmute yourself. There you go, Jürgen. You should be able to ask your question now.
Hey, thanks a lot for putting this together. I hope you can hear me. What are countries that are accessible for both sides? So let's say I wanna eventually go to Mexico or Dubai. Can an American also fly to that country, or what are like countries that both citizens can enter right now?
What was the question? What country can U.S. citizens enter right now?
And also German citizens. That would be accessible for both sides.
Mexico is open for the U.S.
Yeah, I also heard Dubai, Serbia, some other exotic countries, but yeah.
We'd have to look at it individually.
Yeah, I'd want to look to compare for both.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the challenge here is going to be, the moment that you pull that information, it might be outdated already, or within the next 5 minutes, it might be outdated. So if you try to look across the entire, world, that's going to be a challenge. Even here in the United States, it's going to change all the time. I mean, we just had those travel restrictions in Chicago. I'm based out of Chicago here, and just yesterday it was in the news that other states, imposed those travel restrictions, or even widened the number of states where those travel restrictions, or when you travel from those states to New York, New Jersey, or wherever, you should be self-quarantining. But the other thing that I always find a little strange is here in the United States, especially with that, I mean, you've got the city of Chicago, then you've got the county, you've got the suburbs, it's handled differently. So there is no really a structure behind it, at least not what I can see. And the question then also is, especially when traveling here in the United States, is there any enforcement? Have you ever heard of anything like that? Or
no, there is no enforcement. You know, again, it's a rule, but they're not tracking, they're not checking. People can fly in and out of the airport at will, but you know, if you're in violation, you could be fined. But you know, they're not enforcing it.
And that's the sales guy talking. So now the operations guy is going to say that we cannot be held responsible if suddenly you are stopped and somehow quarantined by some government agency or somebody.
So just like Mario said, that city of Chicago, if you're going to suburban or a different county, it doesn't affect you.
Right. And the problem in the United States is the states that are, you know, spiking, it's going up. And so you have states quarantining, not quarantining. That one's almost changing by the day. When you throw in the German and US passport, where can we go? I wouldn't want to plan that too far out. You know, if that is for a vacation that you're trying to do, I'd want to look at that and plan to go next week, because it can change on one side of that.
so what you're saying right now is don't even bother with mid to long-term travel planning. Look at it last minute, yeah, to always be up to date.
Yeah.
Well, but also
I would plan in advance, yeah.
But you can also you can plan for, you know, long-term and just be aware. And believe me, we will make you very aware of airline rules regarding penalties, cancellations, you know, and all the different things. And it's a much longer discussion today than it was a year ago, due to all the different options and stuff. But we'd let you know what's going on.
One thing, if there's been anything that's really significant that's going to impact travel, they usually give you advance notice of when that's going to go into effect to give you an opportunity to vacate that country. You know, so if it's really significant, it won't go into effect immediately.
Yeah, great. Again, with all of those questions that you might have, that the audience might have, and the participants, feel free to touch base with Travelex, with Ursula, Jerry, and Bill in the next few days directly, because as mentioned, you know, every case is different. You know, there is nothing where we can say across the board it's like this or like that. And since all of what I've heard from you is, you know, highly specialized into this or that direction, I would strongly recommend that. And if you also need other support or additional support, you can also reach out to us at the GACC, and we would then connect with our specialists as well, because that's what you're here for. That's what's your business, day in, day out. Do we have any other questions? I think I just answered Daniel's question, Daniel Dudek, yeah. And right now I don't see any other questions. So I think we're good, at least in terms of the questions or the
Actually, Mario, if I can just say one last thing.
Sure.
First of all, thank you everybody for taking the time to get on and talk to us. We appreciate it. I'm sorry that due to the whole situation, we're not able to always give on a call like this concrete answers. There is a lot of gray area in this world right now. Quite frankly, we may talk to somebody and they tell us no, and we hang up and call again, and we get somebody that says yes. We take their name and we go with them. The problem out there in the world right now is it's not black and white, it's gray. And so we're looking for the person that's going to help us get you where you need to go. So with that in mind, feel free to reach out to us, and we'd be more than happy to try to help everybody. We've had a great relationship with the German American Chamber for the past year and a half, 2 years. Might be approaching 2, Mario. And we're more than happy to help everybody and see if we can't get you to come visit our country, or if we can't help you get home.
Plus, the good thing is, if you decide to work with Travelex or whatever, and you're not doing it your own, you have someone to blame, you know, just in case something goes wrong,
Thanks,
you know.
Mario.
Fix it, you know.
For those who are interested in leisure vacation, we do webinars on a regular basis. So if there's any destinations that you're looking for, I'd be happy to send you a Zoom invite if you wanted to participate in one of our web trips. I'd be happy to do that.
Well then, thank you so much. That was amazing, and time flew by. I don't see any questions anymore in the chat box here. I don't see any raised hands. And again, I strongly encourage you to connect with Travelex directly, or to connect with us. And we're gonna, try to be helpful here in this situation where, everything changes last minute. If you need more information on the situation in general, also check out our COVID-19 resource hub at gaccmidwest.org on our website, with the latest information provided by our members and our service providers in terms of travel, and in terms of travel, and also in terms of immigration restrictions. Have a look at our white paper library. There's also up-to-date information in there, and stay tuned. Look at our website, look at our events calendar. The next business luncheons are coming up. We've got one in July where we focus on logistics, supply chain challenges right now between Mexico and the United States. It's not just people that need to travel, it's goods as well that we need to send across the border. How is that working? And also in August, we're going to have one of our major events, our SME Forum, an entire day packed with information for small and mid-sized companies here in the United States, especially German companies, but all the other companies as well. Well, without further ado, and then thank you so much, Ursula, Jerry, and Bill, for making this happen. And yeah, to the audience, thank you so much for participating. And to everybody over there in Germany, have a good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.